We begin with the outpouring of praise Donald Trump is bestowing on Fox's chief propagandist Tucker Carlson for his revisionist history of the January 6th insurrection. He's calling it a great job by Tucker and calling for the members of the January 6th committee to be tried for fraud and treason. Now, I know what you all must be thinking. Joy, come on, why are you starting your show with this tomfoolery? And you're right. Normally, this would not be considered news at all, except for the fact that yesterday we learned what the guy Trump is praising has actually been saying about him behind the scenes, thanks to the latest filing in the $1.6 billion defamation lawsuit by Dominion Voting Systems. In the final weeks of Trump's presidency, Carlson was texting with another person saying, "We are very, very close to being able to ignore Trump most nights. I truly can't wait. I hate him passionately. I can't handle much more of this." In another text, Tucker writes in reference to Trump's presidency, quote, "We're all pretending we've got a lot to show for it because admitting what a disaster it's been is too tough to digest. But come on, there isn't really an upside to Trump." Did you hear that, Fox fans? Did you hear that? Tucker deems Trump's presidency a failure. He went on to call Trump a demonic force and a destroyer. The Dominion lawsuit has given us all a glimpse of what folks over at Fox really thought about Trump. And as we've told you, it doesn't seem like there were many there who actually drank the Kool-Aid about the election conspiracies that they were feeding to viewers on a daily basis. And even with all of these bombshell revelations, it is not clear that it will change anything. Trump is not likely to lash out at Tucker like he normally would with someone who insulted him, because they need each other, and they're not alone. What we are seeing play out is this symbiotic relationship between not just Trump and Tucker, but them, Fox, and the Republican Party as well. For their own survival, they cannot let each other go, no matter what they actually think of each other. So while Tucker privately says he hates Trump passionately, he will still defend him on air.
Is lying really the reason the left despises Donald Trump? Or could the problem be, as is so often the case, the exact opposite of what they claim it is? What infuriates official Washington is not when Trump lies, it's when he tells the truth. Truth is the real threat to their power.
And while Tucker claims that Trump was being destructive for skipping Biden's inauguration, he was quick to mock a CNN anchor for saying the exact same thing.
This is looking like, a president or a foreign head of state leaving Washington. And, in a way, because the president is defying these traditions of not being a part of the inauguration of President Joe Biden, he's almost leaving town like an autocrat, ousted from power, heading off into exile.
It's just hilarious that someone who is literally wearing a black mask on camera is calling someone else a fascist. Why are you wearing a mask? You're not going to get COVID outside at a live shot.
And while Tucker privately denied all the election fraud claims, he has continued to publicly question the election, even as recently as this week.
The protesters were angry. They believed that the election they had just voted in had been unfairly conducted, and they were right. In retrospect, it is clear the 2020 election was a grave betrayal of American democracy. Given the facts that have since emerged about that election, no honest person can deny it.
And along the way, the Republican Party has been right there to help Tucker sell the lies, to keep the base all charged up on hate juice, angry, and voting for Republicans. So they can pass more tax cuts for the rich. Ta-da! Which is why House Speaker Kevin McCarthy gave Tucker access to that full 40,000 hours of January 6th security videos. As awful as it is, it actually makes sense when you remember that these people are all locked together in this plan. The Republican Party needs the base, which Trump speaks to in a way that almost no other candidate does. And Tucker broadcasts Trump's propaganda to give the Trump base the ingredients, the content that they need to fuel their constant rage. And without Trump's people, let's just be honest. Tucker is basically just a multiple failed broadcaster. Remember, he started his hosting career at CNN on Crossfire before he got dog-walked by Jon Stewart.
Here's just what I wanted to tell you guys.
Yeah.
Stop. Stop hurting America. Okay.
And then he had a short stint right here where I work at MSNBC with a primetime show called Tucker, which didn't survive. He even tried ABC's Dancing with the Stars to gain notoriety. But, I mean, come on. Come on. It was only at Fox with Trump supporters that he found an audience eager to listen to his act. In a very real way, Donald Trump made Tucker Carlson. And joining me now is Charlie Sykes, editor-at-large of The Bulwark and an MSNBC columnist, along with Vicky Ward, investigative reporter and author of Vicky Ward Investigates on Substack. Thank you both for being here. I want to play you guys a clip. This is from 2003. This is Tucker Carlson discussing Bill O'Reilly's success. This is the guy he ultimately replaced at Fox. Here he is.
But I think there's kind of a deep phoniness at the center of his shtick. And again, as I say, the shtick is sort of built on this perception that he is the character he plays. He is every man, this kind of, he's not right-wing, he's a populist, this kind of Irish Catholic populist fighting for you against the powers that be. And that's great as a shtick, but I'm just saying the moment that it's revealed not to be true, it's over. Because the whole thing is predicated on the fact that he is who he says he is. And just nobody is that person, especially not someone who makes $1 million, you know, many millions a year.
Charlie, I want to remind you that that is Tucker Carlson talking about Bill O'Reilly, but he easily could be talking about Tucker Carlson.
Well, yes, and this is the thing about Tucker Carlson is Tucker Carlson knows what he's doing. He knows what the shtick is. And even though apparently it turns out that he suffers from Trump derangement syndrome, I think you're absolutely right when you point out that there's a codependency here. They need each other. He is afraid of Trump, but mainly he's afraid of the audience. He needs to cling to Trump in order to keep his audience here. But I also think it's, you know, it's important to know that, yes, Tucker Carlson is a hypocrite. He is a faker. He is a BSer. He's a terrible dancer. But also that this whole story that we're talking about right now, where Tucker Carlson is pushing not just the big lie about the election, but now the big lie about January 6th, is also the role that Kevin McCarthy is playing here. Because Kevin McCarthy has decided that he is going to be joined at the hip with a man that we know is one of the most dishonest broadcasters in America, who only like barely pretends to be a journalist. But none of this would be happening if Kevin McCarthy had not, when he was in that process of self-gelding, surrendering to the Freedom Caucus, one of the deals he made was that he had to give Tucker Carlson all of these hours. So here you have the House GOP joined absolutely to what Fox is doing and what Tucker is doing, and whatever Republicans were hoping that a Republican majority would do, what they're doing is basically doing Tucker Carlson's. They're bringing Tucker Carlson his coffee. They're acting as his gophers, and that's the political reality of the moment.
Adam Kinzinger said it very, very clearly. He said, if you give Tucker Carlson everything he wants, he'll never say a bad word about you. I have to tell you, between Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tucker Carlson, they're even more powerful than Donald Trump. I mean, Donald Trump gets his talking points from Tucker Carlson. That was former Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger. And Vicky Ward, this is the business model, right? The business model at Fox isn't giving the news. The business model is putting a news face on whatever it is that they believe their base already believes. It's a business model that's actually very successful.
It's incredibly successful, Joy. You know, I'm thinking, I mean, I don't think viewers necessarily know kind of how the sausage gets made in our business. But for example, you know, when I've written a book about Jared Kushner that's based on my reporting, when I've come on MSNBC's air and I've said, you know, this is what I report in my book, you or Alex Weir or whoever the anchor is at that moment will say a disclaimer. We'll say to the audience, this is Vicky's reporting. It has not been independently confirmed by an MSNBC. And that is That's how right. You build trust. But the trust, you know, we've all learned, I'm not sure it's going to make any difference to the Fox News ecosystem, but we've all learned that Fox, you know, it works the other way around at Fox, that the journalists at Fox listen to the viewers for what they're going to say. You know, it's all wrong. But I will say this, the Tucker Carlson who you showed in the 2003 video clip there is the Tucker Carlson that I met. I actually was one of his editors at Talk Magazine back in 2000. And back then he was the bow tie wearing, incredibly centrist Republican. In fact, we all thought he was a bit of a hero back in the day. Not only was he a very good writer, but he actually wrote a piece that was critical of George W. Bush, and it caused him to be on the outs a bit with the Republican Party. So I have always wondered, who is the real Tucker Carlson? And it seems we are now more clear on that.
Well, I mean, there are people who work with me on my show on the Cruz side who worked with him, who crewed for him, who do not recognize this person that they see on that network now. They insist that he was not that guy.